Hello traders, Jason here from SwingHigh.com. It is Thursday, October 15th, 2009, and we saw some strength into the close today. If you missed my halftime report, then you missed me make a good call. I drew attention to the fact that we were making higher swing lows, and I predicted that we would close in positive territory today, and we did, and we actually showed quite a bit of strength here at the very end with a nice pop, putting the Dow up 0.47%, NASDAQ up 0.05%, the S&P up 0.42%, and I want to make note of the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is normally considered a leading index, and it was laggard today. That's important to note. This morning, we had Citigroup and Goldman Sachs report earnings, and they weren't too hot, but they weren't too terrible either. Let's see. This is around 7:30 when they reported, and you can see we had a nice sell-off, which caused us to open lower in the markets. But throughout the day, we moved higher and finished at highs for 2009. Let's look at what else? The jobless claims and CPI were both good enough. They weren't that great, and they weren't that horrible either. But they did beat expectations, which helped us move higher today. The VIX, we had a nice bleed out in the VIX today. Dropped 5%, which is nice to see. Sort of making up for the fact that it didn't really follow yesterday's move. The tick spent most of the day about neutral. If you average this out, it hovered around 1 for most of the day. So that's a neutral rating on the tick. And the trend spent most of the day neutral as well, which makes sense because, as you can see, our move today wasn't very sharp by any measure. The S&P, let's look at the SPY again. We are still in the rising wedge. We moved back into it yesterday. We're approaching this 110 mark, which should act as significant resistance. We'll see how the markets behave there when we get there. A couple of trades I made today, where I talked about MPG this afternoon, how it was breaking above this resistance area. It came back down, which makes sense, because once it met resistance, it had a tendency to go back down. So it finished below $3 a share. Not worried. We had a nice test of resistance, and we'll see where it goes from here. A couple of trades I picked up today. BEE had a nice breakout of this symmetrical triangle formation that I love so much with some convincing volume. CVM, same thing. Nice break of that triangle, convincing volume. FBC, the bigger price move out of its triangle, but its volume was about twice as much as average. I like to see 150% the average volume, but it's still good enough volume for me to take that trade. With such a small position, I'm not really worried about the volume being. It doesn't concern me today. Like I said, those trades I've been taking very small positions, so the risk-reward ratios are manageable. I can manage a loss on the entire position and still be all right. That's all for today. Thanks for being a part of SwingHigh.com, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.